Okay, so what this mainly consists of, the first part of the adventure for the space campaign, is to note that what the characters have. And I think I had notes on that, but we'll start with the fact that they don't have an active power source currently. They have a fusion drive, a generator that's worth 100 kilowatts, but right now it's cold and takes a lot of power to turn it on, which can be done. They also have at least 10 battle suits, each of which produce 2 kilowatts of power. Those will be a lot easier to put on. Actually, no, it would be not battle suits, but they'd be a couple of small mecha, small as in about 30 cubic feet, that produce about 10 kilowatts each. Again, they have to turn that on, but it'll be easier than turning on something large. They have about 10 battle suits, and those have power cells, let's just say 500,000 kilowatts each total, and that can run them for a pretty long time depending upon how they use it. So they have to use some skill to get power going. And a more basic thing to come up with is the fact that anybody that's mechanical, that includes a cyborg, the computer, or anybody with cybernetics, will effectively be turned off. So that you have to be turned back on to use it. So to do that, so the people that are alive, organic, will have to get out on their own. Anybody psionic will have not a neural inhibitor, because they haven't actually invented that, but basically a pain stimulator. So if your psionics are used, they give you lots of pain. However, my plan is I will probably have at least a telekinetic who, once a person gets over their pain, can get rid of their restraints and therefore turn everybody else on. There will be other methods for people to get out that I will provide depending upon the characters that I have. And let's see what they want. I'm reading about what Art's doing on this, because I'm also preparing other things when the campaign gets a little longer along. Not bad. Okay, so they'll also need oxygen. In this case, most of your oxygen is provided in most ships by a hydroponic garden type habitat, and also a lot of algae. Algae is really good about taking carbon dioxide out, but they've had to gene engineer really strong algae. Of course, doing this means a lot of times when you specialize something really hardcore to do a job, it becomes more delicate. And look at our brain cells for that. We can think with them, but they die quickly without oxygen compared to our muscles. Anyway, so they'll have to keep the algae at a certain temperature with a certain amount of power and light and so on and so forth. That will require botany or bioengineering, of which somebody should have. That's why we need the computer and anybody with the bioengineering. Let's see, what else? Radiation shielding at the moment is provided by the cargo pod well enough for those who have no radiation shielding. However, many of the characters will probably have that naturally, at least to some degree. Still, you know, that's the one advantage, or a few of the advantages of being non-human, at least when you're not having to be social. Okay, let's see. So you need power, which can be provided by the batteries, which can also be provided by the fusion can be turned on if you have enough battery power, and you have an engineering role of some sort, probably nuclear type physics. So we have power, they'll have heat with power, of course, although they're going to need to rig something, because the cargo pod would have heat, so it wouldn't be quite totally cold. I mean, they are live passengers, at least some of them. But again, you have to provide power. You have to provide the right environment for the algae for oxygen. And as far as food, they may be out of luck on that term for a while. Although there may be paste used for the cyborg, which they may have to share. Perfectly good as far as nutrition, but not exactly tasty. Let's see what Art wants. Okay. Keep travel as norm in my campaign. Yes. Okay. Alright, so let's see, they have power, they have food, they have oxygen. Again, they have to rig this stuff. Now the last thing they really need is a radio. Now where they're at, one of the reasons why they were dropped here is because radio waves just have a hard time getting through this. So let's just say that there are lots of tools of different types, mostly for a cybernetic lab, of course. So there's operating rooms, there's tools for electronics, and there may also be various tool parts. There'll be some minuses for anything specific, but again, these characters are not just 100 point, they're pretty high point. And we'll say that there's things like oxygen or MOX, metal oxygen, things that they could use to possibly put a radio in space. Again, tool use. They're going to need to do that if they want the attention of anybody but the pirates. However, even if they can't get the attention of anybody but the pirates, and that's fine, the pirates will be coming back, and that's the second adventure. And when they do, then things will happen, and we'll see what the player characters can do. So we'll have the tools. They may need to look around a bit to see what they can find, because maybe they're lacking some of the minerals that they need. Let's just say, as we all know, some of the best conductor as far as electricity is gold. And maybe there are some components, and I may deem that so, that need to have certain elements that they don't have on the cargo ship, and therefore forcing them to go outside. Really nothing hostile other than the environment. I know that's boring to some, but the environment's bad enough when you have high radiation, high winds, sand and metal bits that can fly around and puncture whatever you got. Kind of important. And of course an atmosphere that you can't breathe if you're an oxygen user. And despite the fact that people are non-human, most of them are going to need oxygen, at least in some degree. Even the cyborg, even though not near as much, but still they'll need it. Well, that's about it. That'll get people together to learn about each other, and it will also hopefully form a bond of survival. Nothing better than doing that. And that concludes the first adventure. There's a few details that need to be done. A lot of that, though, can be ad-libbed so that you can make the appropriate challenge depending upon the PCs. Email me at dolmen0@hotmail.com. That's DOLMEN, the number 0, at hotmail.com, and let me know kind of the ideas you want if you want to play something. There are characters that I'm going to need, those 4 I mentioned, but other than that, we can come up with and compromise on whatever we'd like to do.